MJ, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make this beautiful rainbow sparkle mermaid blanket. I'll be using an 11.5 millimeter crochet hook, and I'm working with 2 strands together. So I'm using a strand of white worsted weight yarn, and I'm using this beautiful rainbow sparkle yarn. It's Red Heart Roll With It Sparkle. And today I'll be making the toddler size. So I'm wanting to start with the yellow yarn, and depending on how you want the colors to flow, you may need to pull apart your cake to get the color that you want for the right pattern. I really want to go from the light to the more dark colors, so I'm starting with yellow. So we're going to begin with a slip knot and put that on your hook. So for our toddler size, we're going to chain 58. Your chains can be fairly tight because when we get into the pattern, it is going to shrink that chain down. So try not to do your stitches too loose as you work up your 58. Okay, so I've worked up my 58 chains, and I just wanted to mention this is an intermediate pattern. It is a little complicated because we will be doing decreases with a shell stitch in this pattern. You may want to follow along with the PDF. I have a discount code offered in the description box if you want to check that below, and our PDF pattern also includes our child and adult size. So what we're going to do is work 1 single crochet in the second chain from the hook. So there's 1, 2. And work single crochets in every stitch across, every chain across. So this will be a total of 57 stitches, and be sure that you double check and count them because we need 57 stitches for when we get into our shell stitch pattern. Double checked that I have 57 stitches. I'm going to turn and chain 1, and now we're setting up our shell stitch pattern. So we're going to work a single crochet in the first stitch. Now we're going to skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3. In the next stitch, work 7 double crochet. There's 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And we'll skip the next 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and work a single crochet in the next. Skip the next 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, work 7 double crochet in the next. Worked my 7 DC and then skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and a single crochet in the next. So we're repeating this pattern. Skip 3, work 7 DC, skip 3, work a single crochet, and we're going to do that all the way across. We'll end with a single crochet. So I'm going to repeat the pattern, 1, 2, 3, and work all the way across. Okay, so I'm just working up to the end here. You should have 4 stitches remaining after this last shell, and then we single crochet in that final stitch. And then we're going to chain 4. So we're now on to row 3. Our chain 4 counts as a double crochet and a chain 1, and then we'll make a double crochet in that first stitch. So this makes our first V stitch. Now we'll chain 2. We'll skip over 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3. We'll single crochet in the top of the shell, which is the 4th double crochet, chain 2. We're skipping over these 3 double crochet, and we're working a V stitch into this single crochet here. So to do the V, we'll double crochet, chain 1, so double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. So there's our V stitch. Chain 2, skip over 3, 1, 2, 3, and a single crochet in the top of the shell. Chain 2, and then skip over the 3DC and do another V stitch down here. And that's how we're working along. I forgot to mention on our last row, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so in our final stitch, we'll do our V. And then we're on to row 4. So chain 3 and turn. Our chain 3 now counts as 1 double crochet, and we're going to do 3 double crochet in our chain 1 space. So that's a half a shell made, and now we're going to do a single crochet in our next single crochet stitch, and then we're going to be making our shells in our V stitches. So work 7 double crochet, and then work a single crochet in the next single crochet. Do your 7 DC and then a single crochet. So just repeat this and then I'll meet you up at the end. Okay, so I've worked across, I've single crocheted here, and then we're coming to that final V, and you want to add 4 double crochet. And we'll chain 1 and we're on to row 5. So work 1 single crochet in that first stitch, and then we'll chain 2. We'll skip over these 2 stitches and we'll work a V stitch in the single crochet. So double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. We'll chain 2, skipping over 1, 2, 3 double crochet, and work a single crochet in the top of the shell. Chain 2. We'll work a V stitch in the next single crochet. Chain 2, 1, 2, 3, skip over 3, and a single crochet in the top of the shell. So as you can see now, we're doing a row of shells, and then we have a row that sets up the base for the next row of shells. So our repeat will be a total of 4 rows altogether. But let's just continue working across. So we chain 2 and do our V-stitch down in the single crochets. So work across and I'll meet you at the end. Okay, so I'm working to the end here. I've done my V-stitch and now we need to chain 2 and single crochet in the top of that turning chain. And now we're on to row 6 and we'll chain 1 and turn. So we'll work 1 single crochet in that first stitch and then work our 7 double crochet in our V-stitch, chain 1 space, and then we'll work a single crochet in our next single crochet and work 7 DC in our next chain 1 space, and then single crochet our shells and just work that across. So I'm just getting to the end and you should be ending with your single crochet in the last single crochet. So now I've worked through the repeat. The repeat is row 3 through 6, and we're just going to keep repeating that now. And this is why it is helpful to have that PDF to follow along. If not, you've got to go back and rewind now the video and watch our rows 3 through 6 again. So I'm just going to start off row 3. We chain 4, and that's counting as a double crochet and a chain 1 to make our first V-stitch. So we're double crocheting in that same space, chain 2, and then we're skipping over 3 DC, working in the top of the shell a single crochet, chain 2, and in the next single crochet working another V, DC, chain 1, and DC. So now we're just going to basically repeat our pattern a total of 5 times. And your work should measure about 20 inches. So I'm going to work through my repeats off camera, and then once I have reached my 20 inches, we'll start working on the decrease to make the cocoon portion of the mermaid tail. So now if you're making a larger blanket, our toddler blanket, we're only going to use 1 ball of our yarn. But if you were making a larger blanket and wanted to continue the same sort of color pattern throughout, you would want to take your 2 balls and separate out each of the colors. So if I was working on a larger blanket, when I'm done with my yellow, I would take my yellow from my second ball and keep working. Unless you wanted to go in a pattern where it goes through the one rainbow and then starts into the next, which is fine as well. But if you want sort of this gradual look throughout the whole blanket, then just separate your balls out and the colors so that you can continue with this pattern. Okay, so I finished working up my 5 repeats, and my blanket measures in length now about 20 inches, and my width is 23 inches. So now we're going to start doing our decreases. So we'll start out by chaining 3, and this is row 1 of the decrease pattern. Skip over these 3 double crochet and work a single crochet in the top of the shell. Chain 2, skip over the next 3 and work a V stitch in the single crochet. Chain 2, skip over the next 3 DC, work a single crochet in the top of the shell. Chain 2, skip over the next 3 DC, and then we'll work our V, which is our double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. And we're just going to repeat that all the way across, and I'll meet you when we get to the end. Okay, so I'm ending with, here's my V, I've chained 2, and we're just going to end with a single crochet in the top of this shell. So skip over 3, 2, 3, and we're ending right there. We're not working anything down here. So now we can turn. And chain 1. We'll work 1 single crochet in the first, and then work 7 double crochet in our chain 1 space. And then work a single crochet, and then work 7, a single crochet, and just repeat that across. And when we get across, we're just ending with that single crochet in the top. And now for row 3, we'll chain 4. Okay, so we've chained 4, and that counts as our double crochet chain 1, and we will do a double crochet in that same space, and that makes our first V, chain 2, and work a single crochet in the top of our shell, chain 2, and work our V stitch. And at this point, you should be getting sort of a feel of how the pattern works across. We're doing these V's in the valley of the shells and single crochets in the top to get across. So I'm going to continue just working this across, and then I'll meet you at the end. So I'm just coming to the end here. I've made my single crochet at the top, chain 2, and then my final V stitch. Double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. And now we'll chain 3, and we're on to row 4 of the decrease pattern. So our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. We'll work 3 double crochet in our chain 1 space to make our half shell. And then work a single crochet in the next single crochet, and work our 7 doubles in the next chain 1 space. And a single crochet in the next single crochet, and we'll just work this across. I'll meet you at the end. So I'm coming to the end. I've made my single crochet, and now we're working 4 double crochet in our final V stitch to make a half shell. And we'll chain 1 and turn, and now we're on to row 5 of our decrease pattern. So we'll do a single crochet in our first, chain 2, and in the valley we'll do the V stitch, chain 2, and then we'll work a single crochet in the top of our shell. Chain 2, work our V-stitch in the next single crochet, and repeat this across, and I'll meet you up at the end. Okay, and so I'm just coming to the end. I've done my V, chain 2, and then we'll single crochet in that turning chain. And now we can chain 1 and turn, and we're to row 6 of the decrease pattern. So we'll work 1 single crochet in the first stitch, and then 7 double crochet in the next chain 1 space in the V-stitch. And then a single crochet in the next single crochet, and 7 DC in the next chain 1 space, and single crochet, and repeat this across, and I'll meet you at the end. So when we're coming to the end, we do our 7 DC and then just a single crochet in that final single crochet stitch. And now you should have 6 shells, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we want to go through the decrease pattern once more so that we have 5 shells. So repeat the decrease rows 1 through 6, and then we'll meet up again. So just to review the first part of our decrease, we chain 3, and then skip over the 3 DC with a single crochet in the top. So like we did here, that decreases our pattern down. So just repeat those rows. Decrease rows 1 through 6, and then we'll meet up again when we're down to 5 shells. Okay, so I've reduced down to my 5 shells. And now I'm going to fasten off, leaving a long tail for seaming. So we're ending here on our right side. So when we seam it, we want the right sides facing, and this shell here will be in the center of the front. Okay, so at this point your tail should be measuring about 30 inches. Okay, and now to seam the blanket, you're just going to work up along So I've seamed about 10 inches. And now you're just going to want to flip it back to the right side. And now I'm going to join back up into my top corner here, my right side facing, and I'm going to do the edging. I'm wanting to, I think, do my fin into the blue color, so I'm going to use the purple to go around the edge. But you could choose to start the fin now and leave the edging to the end. It's up to you. So just join, chain 1, and work single crochets in every stitch across. When you get to the corner, add 3 single crochet. And you're going to continue working all the way down, around and back up to finish the edging. So you just want to evenly space your single crochet stitches down along the side. So some of our spaces you'll want to add 2 single crochet. And then others just the 1. When you pull it out, you want it to not be pulling too tight or not too bunchy. Just try to evenly space them. I'm almost finished with my white ball of yarn. I'll need to go into a second ball to finish the blanket. There's a lot more yardage on the sparkle balls than the regular balls. So this has 561 yards and the yarn I was using only has 364. So if you're able to get a larger size ball of your worsted weight to match up with the red heart, that's great. If not, you just have to buy 2 of the smaller balls. I had a lot of purple left, so I'm going to go ahead and do a reverse single crochet to finish off my edging, and I'm going to use a smaller hook just to make it so I've dropped down to my 10mm hook. So when you're doing your reverse single crochet, you're just going backwards. You're doing a single crochet, but working it backwards to what you would normally be doing. So go through the stitch and pull through. Go through the stitch. And you can see it's making this really nice rope-like effect. I think it'll be a nice finish to the edge. So I'm going to go ahead and do that all the way around. Okay, so I've worked all the way around. You can see how nice the edge looks. And we just need to slip stitch to the first to join here. Fasten off. And then we can just weave those ends in. Okay, so for the fin, we're putting our 2 strands together and our 11.5mm hook. We'll start out with a slip knot and chain 32. And now follow along with your pattern for the size you're working on with how many you need to chain. And we'll work 1, 2, 3, a half double crochet in the 3rd chain from the hook. So yarn over, and work a half double crochet in every chain across. Okay, so I've worked across and I have 30 stitches. Now you can chain 2 and turn. So our fin will be worked from the side across. We'll start doing decreases and then we'll do increases. You can remember what side all of your increase and decreases are at based on your tail here or at a stitch marker. So our first stitch will skip, and then the entire fin is worked in the back loops only. So half double crochet tog across the next 2. So skip, going through the back loop only, yarn over, pull through all the loops on the hook, and then just work a half double crochet in the back loops only of every stitch across. Okay, so I've worked across. We'll chain 2 and turn. So you should have a total of 28 stitches. And now we'll work in the back loop only of every stitch across until you have 4 stitches remaining. Okay, so I've worked across to my final 4 stitches. Now we'll do togs across the last 4. So go through the back loop only, pull up a loop, go through the next stitch, pull up a loop, 4 stitches on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 4. We'll do one more. And now we'll have reduced to 26 stitches. Chain 2 and turn. And now we'll skip the first stitch and do a half double crochet tog across the next 2 stitches. And then just work a half double crochet in the back loops only every stitch across. So this row will have a total of 24 stitches. Okay, we'll chain 2 and turn, working back across until we have 4 stitches remaining. So remember, throughout the whole fin we're working in the back loops only, and we're doing half double crochet stitches. Okay, so here's my final 4 stitches. We'll do a half double crochet decrease, and we'll decrease the next 2. So now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We've reduced to 22 stitches. Chain 2 and turn. Skip the first stitch and do a tog across the next 2. And just work a half double crochet, the back loop only of every stitch across, reducing this row to 20 stitches. Okay, row 7 we'll chain 2, and we'll work a half double crochet in every stitch across until we have 2 stitches remaining. Here's my final 2 stitches, and we'll do an HDC2 tog across the last 2. Reducing this row to 19 stitches, and now we're on to row 8. We'll chain 2, skipping the first stitch and doing a tog across the next 2. And a half double crochet in the back loops only of every stitch across. Okay, so we have a total of 17 stitches, and we'll chain 2 and turn and work a half double crochet in every stitch across until we have 2 stitches remaining. Okay, so our final 2 stitches. We tog, and you should have a total of now 16 stitches. Chain 2 and turn. And this is row 10. We'll skip the first stitch and do a tog across the next 2. And work 1 half double crochet in every stitch across. Okay, so you should have a total of 14 stitches, chain 2 and turn. And this is now the center row of our fin, which is row 11. So we'll work a half double crochet in the back loops only of every stitch across until we have 2 stitches remaining. Okay, so now we have 2 stitches remaining. We'll do our tog across those final 2. So this row, row 11, we have 13 stitches. So here's our first half of our fin, and now we'll begin increasing the same pattern that we decreased so that our halves are equal. So for row 12, we're going to chain 2. And we'll work 2 half double crochets in the back loop only of that first stitch. And then 1 in the back loop only of every stitch across, so we'll have 14 stitches. And this is where having the pattern is helpful to make sure you're doing this correctly. But again, your tail here, we know everything, all the increases are made at this end. We want the top of our fin to be straight. So we chain 2 and turn. And we'll work a half double crochet in every stitch across until we reach the final 2 stitches. Okay, so we have 2 stitches remaining, and now we'll put 2 half double crochets in each of the last 2 stitches. So now we've increased to 16 stitches. Chain 2 and turn. We'll do 2 in the first stitch. And then 1 in the back loop only of every stitch across. Chain 2 and turn, and then we'll work a half double crochet in the back loop only of every stitch across until we have 2 stitches remaining. Okay, so I'm to my final 2 stitches. We put 2 half double crochet in each of the last 2. So we're now up to 19 stitches. Chain 2, turn, okay, and then 2 half double crochet in that first stitch. So now we're going from 19 up to 20 stitches for row 16. So So just 1 half double crochet in every stitch across. Okay, chain 2 and turn, and now we'll work a half double crochet in every stitch across until we have 2 stitches remaining. And we're increasing now each row by 2 stitches until we get up to 30. Okay, so I'm down to the final 2, and we'll work 2 half doubles in the final 2 stitches. Chain 2 and turn, and we'll work 2 in the first and 2 in the next. And then we'll work 1 in every stitch across. So now just continue until you have a total of 30 stitches, so adding 2 extra always on this end. Okay, so once you've reached your 30 stitches, you should be at the end here. I've chained 1, and now we'll work a single crochet in every stitch across. So work all the way back up to the top, and I'll meet you there. So when you get to the top, we're going to add an extra stitch to the corner. And then the rows that pop up more, these rows here, this is where we're going to work across, because we want now our fin to be gathered across the top. So we'll count this as 1, this is 2, and make sure it's nice and tight. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Because of working in the back loops only, your rows should just pull nice and tight in like that. Now we're really starting to see the shape of our fin. And now we're going to work down the side of the fin our 30 stitches. So at this point you could fasten off and leave this section of the fin unfinished, or if you're going to finish the edge, you want to work 2 single crochet per row across so that it's even. If you have too many on this side and not as many on this side, or vice versa, your fin's going to look off. So make sure for every row you're adding 2 single crochet, so that's a total of 42 single crochet across the fin. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that your 3 shells are showing in the front, and we're going to actually seam it to go slightly inside, because I really love the detail of having the shells come down over the fin. I think that's really pretty. So we're basically seaming it inside the piece. So I'm going to grab some yarn and my needle. So I'm going to start with my corner. So I'm going to seam it here to part of this shell. And I'm going to knot that to start. So what we'll do is we'll seam through these stitches all the way along this part of the inside of the shells. We're basically going through every stitch of the fin and seaming inside. So I'm just getting across to the other side here. So that should hang down nicely over top. And I'm going to flip the fin over. And we're going to continue to seam to these shells as well. Just going down to the fin and up to the shells. And just finish seaming it all the way around. So now the fin is just tucked into this bottom part. And once you've finished, you can knot and weave in your ends. Okay, and I'm just going to attach a tag, and I just got new tags done. These are from Brick Bubble, and I have these little leather rivets, so I don't even have to sew these on, which just makes it super quick and easy. So I just push this through. If I can just get my fingers to work properly here. Okay, so I've pushed it through, push through to the other side, and I'm just going to snap that together.